joining us from. Before starting, maybe some gentleman agreement. Ms. Antares would have said the gentleman and gentlewoman agreement. So I am kindly requesting all of us to mute our microphones when we are not speaking, but also the videos to enable us good working, good hearing conditions. Another request is for all of us to post our comments and questions in the chat room so that our colleagues Jerusalem, Kasumi, and Jose will convey those comments and questions to the right panelists. So this being said, I think we can now start. So good afternoon again, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, dear partners, dear participants. My name is Saliu Salu, and I'm the Senior Program Coordinator of UNESCO ICPA. Ongoing conflicts and emergencies in many parts of Africa have hindered regional and global efforts to provide quality education. To make things worse, the unexpected COVID-19 pandemic is imposing an unprecedented global health crisis with negative ramifications for social, political, and economic relations around the world. African countries suffering from public health, economic, and social instability provide fertile breeding grounds for violence. Investing in education for peace building, therefore, is today more than ever necessary to nurture ethical values in young people that are conducive for learning to live together in their communities and empower them to meaningfully participate and engage in the issues and challenges they face and respond to the transformation of their society. The UNESCO International Institute for Capacity Building, UNESCO ICPA, has been very actively working on the prevention of violence and promotion of peace building through education in Africa. With the support of the government of Japan since 2017, those interventions have aimed at integrating peace, resilience building, and PVE for youth through teacher development programs in Africa. In that regard, a set of guides have been developed. Among those guides, we can cite Transformative Pedagogy for Peace Building, Youth Empowerment for Peace and Resilience Building and Prevention of Violent Extremism in Sahel and Surrounding, a guide for teachers, Transformative Pedagogy for Learning to Live Together with adaptation to needs in different regions in Africa and in English, French, Arabic areas. Extensive capacity building trainings have taken place at regional, national, and institutional levels, building on the transformative pedagogy approach to strengthen capacity of teachers in about 24 countries in the continent, involving ministries of education, teacher training institutions, university, youth organization, and other stakeholders. Recognizing the importance of shared learning and reflective practices, UNESCO ICPA is proposing a series of 3 webinars aiming to create space for lessons learned from these implementations across Africa by different stakeholders as indicated by the topic. The topic is Lessons Learned in Promoting Transformative Pedagogy for Peace and Resilience Building, Prevention of Violent Extremism, and Learning to Live Together in Africa. The webinar we are organizing today is focusing on teacher training. It will be followed by others, other 2 webinars respectively on universities and youth empowerment, before a final one in French dealing with the implementation of the guides in French-speaking countries. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Lessons Learned Webinar 1 on Transformative Pedagogy for Peace and Resilience Building and PVE, Experiences from Teacher Training Perspectives. The objectives of the webinar are as follows. First of all, we'll have to share experiences from the implementation of transformative pedagogy for peace, resilience building, and PVE through teacher training in different countries in Africa. Specifically, today we have 4 countries who will be sharing their experience. Another objective is to articulate relevance of transformative pedagogy in responding to contextual realities and challenges in different parts of Africa. Another objective is to identify lessons learned and good case practices from the integration of transformative pedagogy in teacher training at national and institutional levels. Last but not least, we have an objective consisting on reflecting on what works well, the gaps, and way forward in strengthening use of transformative pedagogy for peace and resilience building and PVE. To talk about that, we have invited a group of panelists composed of education authorities whose voices count in their respective countries. First of all, we'll hear from Ms. Nora Tairi, Central Inspector at the Ministry of National Education in Algeria. After her, we'll listen to Mr. Wegayu Abebe, Peace Building Coordinator at the Ministry of Education in Ethiopia. He will be followed by Ms. Marie Kangete, who is the Director Education Program in Kenya National Commission for UNESCO. The third panelist will be Mr. Marco Marcella, Program Coordinator for Education at Lesotho National Commission for UNESCO. And the last but not least panelist will be Mr. Shifiniro Chico T from National Commission for Malawi, in UNESCO National Commission for Malawi. So ladies and gentlemen, those are the panelists we'll be listening to before opening a conversation with them, between them and the participants. But before giving them the floor, we wanted our director, we requested our director to Dr. Yumiko Yokozeki, Director of UNESCO IGBA, to provide us with her welcoming speech. But due to some circumstances related to the connection, she could not join us, but I'm going to read her opening remarks on her behalf. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, hi, Paul.
Now I come to the opening remarks from, on behalf of Dr. Yumiko Yokozeki, Director of UNESCO IGBA. Ladies and gentlemen, dear participants, it is a great honor and pleasure to welcome all the guests to this online webinar on how to support learners to be transformative actors. This webinar is organized under the project called Prevention of Violent Extremism and its Resurgence Amid the COVID-19 Pandemic through Education in Africa, aligned with the spirit of TCAT 7 and NAPSA, supported by the government of Japan. Peace is one of the African Union's priorities. Aspiration 4 of the Agenda 2063 emphasized that a culture of, I quote, of course, a culture of peace and tolerance shall be nurtured in Africa's children and youth through peace education, end of quote. African youth and children are, however, at risk of violence and extremism in many forms and manifestations. The factors that push and pull youth into or out of extremism and violence are rooted in complex social, political, economic, and educational dynamics. For those reasons, UNESCO's peace-building efforts focus heavily on children and youth empowerment, and there is no better place than schools, meaning higher education institutions and youth organizations, to address a large number of youth. Peace education has the potential to transform our schools and universities by inspiring and equipping youth to learn to live together with resilience and peaceful intentions. Instead of seeing our children and young people as inferior in capacity or just dependents, we should consider them as persons with dignity and agents to contribute to peace building and social transformation. Acting with dignity and respect towards learners involves believing on their potential, respecting their views, their choices and decisions, as well as not making assumptions about how they want to be treated. It is therefore important to work in partnership with children and young people with care and compassion through empowering approaches. We should see them as active agents in society, understanding that they need to be actively involved in building the future world they will live in. Child participation is one of the core principles of the Convention of the Rights of the Child, CRC, which assert that children and young people have the right to freely express their views and that there is an obligation to listen to children's views and to facilitate their participations in all matters affecting them within their families, schools, local communities, public services, institutions, government policies, and even judicial procedures, to name but a few. This means that we need to see their meaningful participation in peace building as an important pillar that we facilitate through education. The heart of our work as UNESCO ICBA in promoting transformative pedagogy has been to support this transformation in our education systems. We have seen that when empowered with transformative pedagogy approaches, teachers have been able to build more cohesive relationships with learners, parents, and communities at large. Many countries are aiming to reach that objective, and we look forward to working with you in that journey. Your contributions will be crucial and very instrumental in the development of evidence-based practice that can be replicated in schools, universities, and teacher training institutes. Finally, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the panelists, participants, as well as to the government of Japan for funding this project. I look forward to the outcomes of your discussions, which I am sure will be quite fruitful. Thank you very much in advance and enjoy the webinar. Signed, Dr. Yumiko Yokozaki, Director of UNESCO ICBA. So thank you again very much, ladies and gentlemen, for your attention. That was the speech from the Director of ICBA, Yumiko Yokozaki, who would have liked to join us, but due to some circumstances and given the fact that she's out of Ethiopia, she could unfortunately not join us, but I hope that her message is well received by all participants. So without further ado, I am now going to give the floor to the first panelist, Ms. Noira Tairi, who I remind again is a central inspector at the Ministry of National Education, Algeria. So Ms. Neri, I give you the floor. First of all, you can introduce yourself very shortly and then start your presentation. The floor is yours.
Warm greetings to all the audience. I'm happy to be here with you today. And let me introduce myself first. I'm Nora Tairi. I'm a Central Inspector at the Ministry of Education, Algeria. Today I'm here to share with you the Algerian experience in implementing transformative pedagogy in the educational system. Can you see my screen? Is it shared?
We can see you, not your screen yet.
Not my screen. Okay, I will try again. It worked. I tried before, but right now I think there is.
Nora, do you want me to present it from my side?
Okay, please do. I think there is
Okay.
Can you go to the first one? Okay. Okay, can you make it full screen, Irisan? Okay. So, as I previously said, I'm going to share with you the experience of Algeria in implementing the transformative pedagogy in the Algerian educational system. But before, so this is an overview actually of our experience. Because I cannot go in deep details. It will take long time for talking about all the experiences and the experimentation of the transformative pedagogy in Algeria. Okay, so before I inform you about the implementation of the transformative pedagogy, I will let you know first. I will acknowledge you what constitutes the fertile ground for implementing this pedagogy in Algeria. Next slide. Okay, so actually what constitutes a fertile and suitable ground for implementing transformative pedagogy is first, what is in the curriculum, in the Algerian educational curriculum, and which include topics on human rights, citizenship, conflict resolution and peace building, tolerance, respect, and many other topics. There are topics that are included in the syllabi of many subjects, such as civic and religious education, history, and also a support text in teaching national and foreign languages. So the topic already exists in our curriculum. More than this, there is also teaching training program on peace building related topics. For example, there is teacher in service cascade training in peace education related topics. I will give you examples. We have conducted a project on school violence and mediation. We have an ongoing project on shared reflection workshops, which constitutes a project for freeing the negotiation and dialogue to solve problems. Then there is also peace education, peace and resilience building that is related to the ICPA project on implementing transformative pedagogy. So I will now give you details about next slide, Jerusalem. So I will give you details about the background of peace and resilience building cascade training. So this started, we had some TOT teacher training on transformative pedagogy in Senegal in 2018. Then we planned, once back to Algeria, we planned training sessions for a core team of 30 teacher trainers that we call inspectors here in Algeria. So we carried out one of the sessions. Then we had the pandemics, the COVID pandemics, and two of the sessions were postponed. So now I will present some pictures of the sessions we had in Algeria. This is the first session in October 2019. These are pictures of the first sessions where we cascaded some topics of the ICPA guide. We dealt with peace building, with the role of education, with ethics, with competencies for implementing transformative pedagogy, as you can see on the pictures. Then the second session, as I said, we resumed the cascade training with the core team in after not actually there was a period where COVID was a little bit, the sanitary condition was a little bit better, so we exploited this condition to have another meeting in March 2021, and we also cascaded the other 3 or remaining topics of the guide. And the last session was last December, and we concluded, we cascaded the remaining chapters of the guide, and we also tried to do more. So these are pictures of the 3 sessions we had with a core team of inspectors that will be in charge of cascading to their teachers. Now, before I just wanted to present what is important and what is relevant and why we included the transformative pedagogy in our educational system. So because transformative pedagogy is an innovative pedagogical approach that empowers both teachers and learners. It encourages learners to be reflective and critical thinkers who are able to contribute meaningfully as members of local and global communities. Next slide. It also redefines role of teachers. Teachers become facilitators with the disposition, knowledge, skills, and commitment to support students to develop their full potential as peace builders. So these are the objectives and that we targeted to implement in our system. And the project had achieved many goals. So I will let you know, for example, cascade training session to the core team of teacher trainers on ICBA guide with adaptation to the Algerian context. So it's very important to say that we adapted the guide to the Algerian context. So we have selected some topics that are appropriate and cascaded them to the core team. These topics are the role of education in peace building, school violence, conflict resolution and mediation, ethics as an objective, community engagement, transformative pedagogy. We focused on the target competencies, the learning process, the assessment and evaluation tools. So all these objectives have been cascaded to the core team. Now, next slide. What are the project outputs in Algeria? So we adopted the Cascade Teachers Training Guide, which is still in a draft version. And we have produced samples of teaching plans, cards, applying the transformative pedagogy learning process. Then we, I just wanted to add this because one of the participants who is also a good painter and artist attended with us and produced a painting or a drawing for our project that will be the cover page of the guide, Algerian guide, that symbolizes all the objectives of the project and all the topics we dealt with during the 3 sessions, and which is in the next slide. Next slide. No, I will, it is not in the next slide. I will show it at the end, sorry. So the next slide. Now, what remains? What is the way forward? What is next? So in Algeria, we are planning to have a session by the end of June for refining the Cascade training guide and for have the final version. And then the most important step, it is cascading to teachers. Actually, we have already had some experimenting of cascading to teachers just to say if we need to we need to see again what has been cascaded or refine it. So there, and we analyzed, evaluated the cascading experiments of the core team, but as an official operation for cascading to teachers, that the core team will receive a letter in which there will be designed a mission for cascading the project. This is what is going to be next. Then we produced, as I said, in the last meeting we produced some peace building teaching plans especially in three languages, in civic and in three subjects, also in civic education in Arabic, in French language subject it is in French, and in English language for English subject too. So these are only samples, but we intend to produce more, and it will be easier for teachers to implement them on the field. Then, of course, if we need to reach our objectives, we need to monitor the implementation of transformative pedagogy in the classroom. We need to see how this is done, and so this will require a monitoring program for doing so. And of course, last but not least, we need to evaluate the impact. We need to evaluate the impact, because as its name indicates it well, so we target transformation. So we will see if we have reached transformation in the behavior of our learners in the classroom. This is what remains to be done in Algeria. And as I said, I previously mentioned, there is a page cover that has been painted for our guide, and it is in the next slide. It is it won't be really understood for all of you, because there are some words that are written in Arabic, but they all represent topics of the guide. So I will give you time for contemplating it. So this is Algerian experience for implementing transformative pedagogy. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Nora Tyree, for your brilliant presentation and very informative intervention, which show that Algeria is really very active in as far as implementing the transformative pedagogy is concerned. You have shared us some information related to the background, but also the areas of implementation, mainly curriculum and teacher training. But you have also mentioned some very important activities that you are conducting, as well as the rationale and relevance of introducing transformative pedagogy. And you have finished your intervention by the way forward with some very interesting activities that we have planned to do. I hope that you will share out the output of those activities. You have already some questions in the chat, and further questions will come again.
My pleasure.
Please go to the chat.
If I had more time, I will show you the draft of the guide that we have produced, and the cards, the learning teaching plans, but I think I don't have enough time for doing so.
Yeah, maybe if you have a link to share that information, you can share the link or share information in the chat. Thank you very much, Nora. We are really grateful.
My pleasure.
Now, yeah, our next panelist is Mr.
Sorry, Salu?
Yes.
Salu?
Yes.
Sorry, Yumiko just joined us. Director Yumiko just joined us. Can we give her 2 minutes?
Okay, Yumiko. Welcome, Yumiko. Maybe I can give you the floor for a few words. You are muted. You are muted. Hello, Yumiko.
Oh, sorry. I
Okay.
was muted.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Saliu, and good morning or good afternoon, colleagues. It was so nice to hear a little last bit of Anora, because Algeria is very active and very committed and engaged in the project. I am joining from Malawi. Now we are doing GPE Kicks hub meeting, but I realized that in education, for education to continue, and also for the SDG to continue, peace building and the PVE is absolutely necessary. And then this is one of the most important investment we can make for the in the young people. And this is a wonderful occasion where we can share the good examples and lessons learned and achievements. So thank you very much for your participation. This is a series of webinars we are going to continue to share, and I hope that we can continue sharing and we can continue compiling good examples so that we can share widely. But thank you very much, Saliu, and thank you very much, Nora and the colleagues. I will see you shortly, and then in next webinars. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yumiko.
Thank you very much, Yumiko, for the insightful intervention, which is just backing up the opening remarks you provided us and that I read on your behalf. So really, thank you for the support. Now we're going to give the floor to Mr. Wegayehu Abebe, Peace Building Coordinator at the Ministry of Education of Ethiopia. So Mr. Wegayehu, you have 8 minutes. You introduce yourself briefly and then share us your experience in Ethiopia.
Okay.
Mr. Wegayehu, are you with us?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead. Yes. Yes.
Okay. So let me share my slide. Can you see my slides?
Not yet, but if you are having difficulties, our colleague Jerusalem can share the slides on your behalf.
Yeah, I'm trying to share for you. Is that okay?
Yes, please.
What about
please
now?
go ahead.
Now?
Yeah.
Okay, my name is
Yes, it has come. We can see it.
Okay.
Maybe you can make it Japorama, but it's okay. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, my name is Odayo Ambebe from the Ministry of Education of Ethiopia. I'm working as peace since 2017. The Transformative Pedagogy implementation in Ethiopia.
Mr. Wegayu, can you get closer to the microphone? We can't hear you very well.
Okay.
It's breaking. Please.
Yeah. Hello.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. The overall goal of the program is to produce economically productive and equitable leaders in the outside school environment, and the ultimate goal to produce teachers and students who are prepared for the prevalence of peace and peaceful coexistence, and also to develop, to inculcate the culture of peace in primary and secondary school as well as college and in universities. So we have been working, the Ministry of Education has been working on 15 program implementation in phase 1 in 2017, As a result, several numbers of these pre-service teachers were trained in transformative pedagogy for building at national as well as national level by the Ministry of Education in collaboration with UNESCO. Since 2017, we are conducting different POC for PPC instructor. First, we provided for PPC instructors, and then they cascaded the training for their students, for the graduate students in different.
Sorry, Wagayu.
Yes.
Yes, people are writing on the chat and they can't hear you well. Can you raise your voice, or if you have a headset, maybe you can make the mic nearer to your mouth.
Can you try now?
Yes, Wagayu.
It's okay.
You can proceed, Wagayu.
Mr. Wagayu?
It's interesting.
Maybe the mic got disconnected.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think now he's talking. Hello, Wagayu, can you hear us?
Hello.
Yeah,
Hello.
Yes. Hello, Wagayu.
Mr. Bagahev, can you try again? We can't hear you at the moment.
You are not hearing me, so
Now we can. I think when the
Now
mic
we can
comes-
hear you. Yes.
okay. Are you hearing now me?
Yes, now clear.
Yes.
Please
Much
go
better.
ahead.
Okay.
Yes.
So most of the training is or workshops were organized at national and regional level by the Ministry of Education in collaboration with the UNESCO. So quite a number of teachers were trained. So right after the training, most of the trained candidate teachers, along with their instructors, were able to cascade the training activities, in particular for their classmates and school communities in general, their respective college. So in addition to this, we also started providing in-service training for teachers who are already working in the primary and secondary school teachers, and we are able to organize 9 peace building trainings by the Ministry of Education in collaboration with UNESCO at national level. Accordingly, more than 340 service teachers and regional education bureaus had been trained in peace building, beginning from 2019 up to 2020. And beginning from 2001 up to 2022, more than 200 service teachers and regional education experts have been trained in peace building. So these are our achievements. You can see the pictures, the TOT and the cascaded trainings at national and regional level. So you can see the pictures. So you can see the pictures. In addition to this, several peace clubs have been established at different primary and secondary school level and different regional states, because we are working in collaboration with different regional education bureaus, and we have focal persons at different regional education offices, and then they also provide the training for the teachers as well as peace clubs, and in that way we are able to establish different peace clubs and we are able to train different teachers. Regarding the value of the impact of peace building manual, it has valuable advantages. The Transformative Pedagogy for Peace Building Training Manual has played a very pivotal role in terms of boosting up the skills and knowledge of teachers and students on how to resolve conflict peacefully and non-violently, and how to interact with others, how to live with others, and how to live within diversified society. So so using this manual, we provided training for many teachers and peace club representatives, mini media representatives, even even we are able to incorporate the peace issues, the peace. We are able to incorporate peace education and peace building values in the new curriculum. The values of peace building are already incorporated in the new curriculum. We are producing new curriculum, but not yet fully implemented. But we are incorporating, we are attempting to incorporate the peace values beginning from grade 1 up to grade 10. So this manual, the Transformative Pedagogy Manual, played a very vital role in terms of raising the awareness and the capacity of teachers, and as well as we are also able to incorporate some of the contents from these manuals. The teachers, the writers, we gave the writers this manual, and then they attempted to incorporate the peace values beginning from grade 1 up to grade 10. So these are our achievements. These are the achievement. So these are the achievements. If you ask me about the challenges, we don't have sufficient budget to cascade all trainings across the country, because there are quite a number of primary and secondary schools. So we're not addressing all for these students. And we need to establish more peace clubs, but we're not able to due to limited budgets. Of course, the government budget, we allocate government budget at the same time, and we get the support from UNESCO ICBA. So regarding the way forward is to organize capacity building sensitization workshop, training on peace education, peace building, and conflict resolution mechanism for the concerned teachers and students. And the other mode of delivery is producing posters, leaflets, and that carry positive values. What I didn't tell you about this manual is also translated into 3 languages, in Amharic and in Afan Oromo, in Somali, translated, and now we are on the way to print it. We are also providing the training in 3 languages, three languages. So that is a great achievement for us. So we want to proceed providing the training in these 3 languages. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wigayu, for having shared us those important experiences from Ethiopia regarding the implementation of the guide on transformative pedagogy. You have really mentioned great and important achievements. And you started working with ICBA since the beginning of the project, which was in 2017. And a great number of teachers and experts have been trained, about 540, which is really a great stride. You have also talked about the impact and the role of the guide, which is already integrated into the curriculum and translated into local languages, which is also a great achievement. Of course, there are some challenges, you have mentioned them, mainly related to finance and security, and hopefully together we'll try to find a solution to those challenges. And the way forward also, you have mentioned activities that are very, very important, and we'll follow up together. Thank you very much. And probably participants will ask you questions in the chat, and you are really requested invited to. Thank you very much. Now I am inviting Ms. Mary Kangete. Mary Kangete is the Director Education Program at the Kenya National Commission for UNESCO. Mary has been working for IGBA for a long time now, but I would like you to introduce briefly yourself to participants before starting sharing your experience in Kenya. So Mary, you have the floor.
Okay, I hope I can get my presentation. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, we can see you.
Okay, so I hope I can get my presentation on. My name is Mary Kangede. I work for the Kenya National Commission for UNESCO. And we are one of the countries that implemented the peace building program. So I'll take you through our experiences. And the first thing that I want to say as the peace building initiative came on board as we were already doing other activities on peace building. If you could take me to the first slide. Yeah, I can continue talking, and I just want to say that the peace building initiative came into Kenya when we already had other initiatives that were ongoing. One of them is that we had the competency-based curriculum going on, and we. It was going on. The other thing that was going on is that we already had a peace education program going on again in Kenya. At the same time, there were other initiatives within the ministry. There was also the development of the policy on peace education. And therefore, the program came on board when when there was already fertile ground for that. I'm told my presentation is,
yes.
I don't know what is happening.
Now, yes, now switch to presentation.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so you could take me to the next slide. Yes, I think this is what I've talked about, that the program came on board in 2018. Quite a number of things were already happening in Kenya. We had the peace education policy. We had the national peace education program going on. Peace education was to an extent already integrated into the curriculum reforms in the country. The next one, I thought it is important. The next slide, I thought it is important for us to understand when we talk about transformative who are trained, like teacher educators, people who have gone through teacher education, teacher training. We ask ourselves, we already know the methodologies that we need to use for learners to be able to learn well. What is this transformative pedagogy? And I thought it's important that I say, how did we understand it in Kenya? And one of awareness, such that the teacher is so aware of who they are, what they are going through, the weaknesses, the strengths that they have, even as they work with the learners, and they can use this to facilitate learning within the class, and even to mitigate some of the things about themselves that would go or that would hinder teaching and learning. The other thing that we were keen on, or that came out about the transformative pedagogy, is that there is the need for a safe learning environment. This is both physically, psychologically, emotionally, so that the teacher is aware that what is happening between them and their learners they are able to create or to even mitigate some of the things that would help or that would make learners feel either emotionally safe or physically, and they're also aware of some of the physical insecurities that are happening in their environment. I remember in one of the schools when we went to monitor, the students had to walk away because there was already environmental insecurity in their environment. So are the teachers aware of these insecurities, and do they take them into consideration as they work with the learners? The other one is, of course, the innovative methodologies that we know, and inquiry-based learning, allowing learners to learn, to take charge of their own learning. The other one is collaborative learning, that it's not one way, it's not just the teacher who is teaching the learners, but we have collaborative learning where the teacher can also learn from the learners. And I think this is not something that has been there, and it was really brought out either through this initiative. Then attitude and value development, I know this has been there, but it was underscored. And then behavior change, such that the learners can be able to do something immediately with their learning. And I'll be talking about what we did about that as we move on. So let's go to the next slide. Okay, then from having understood how the environment in which Kenya was working in, I want to say the initiative kicked off by training of TOTs, and here we got education officers, curriculum developers, and we also got even people from the NGO. We brought one officer from the NGO to be with us, and we were trained at Entebbe. And we came into the country now to start implementing the initiative. And the first thing that we did was to again train some national TOTs who are again drawn from our Curriculum Development Institute. We had teacher educators from diploma TTCs and also from schools of education in private and public universities. One may ask, why diploma? We thought that these are institutions where not so much focus is sometimes given to them. There is a lot of focus on primary TTCs, universities, but sometimes the diploma colleges fall through the cracks, and we felt that it would be good to focus on them. So let's move on. Here, then we went into our national training now, and that's a photo of us as we were training the people that I have just talked about. Next. So the next slide is now training at the national level, the training at the I also wanted to say that the second phase of TOTs, we also trained now the educators at the institutional level. And here we trained we went into two areas. We trained the diploma teacher educators, and we also trained teachers from a neighboring school. And I'll be talking about that later on. The teacher educators trained were expected to infuse the concept into the curriculum using in-school and out-of-school initiative. So next. So the teacher educators, I think this is a repeat, but I want to emphasize that this was critical for us. The peace education had not been infused into the teacher education curriculum, and therefore when we were training teachers, we had to show them how to identify entry points and bring in the content that we trained them during their specific, the specific units that they train on in the colleges. And therefore, this was critical. So we sat with them, helped them to identify those entry points, and they were able to do that as they went teaching their courses. Further than that, we also saw such things like some of the out of class activities were mainly peace clubs, peace zones, engaging learners in community service learning, and that is where behavior change comes in, because what the students had learned in the school was also, they were also supposed to engage in some things or some activities within the community. They were also posting peace messages in the school. So you can see like there, that is one of the colleges, and we saw some you know, some of the institutions. Next. Sites are taking a bit of time to move to the next. But I think from here, well, the other thing that we want to say is the teacher educators from university, from schools of education that we trained, they were also very keen, and they really went out of their way to cascade the training in the universities. And here we have teacher educators from Kenyatta University being trained on what the lecturers had learned as we trained them during the national training. So the training was cascaded in at least 4 universities, and some of the universities were actually reached out by some teacher educators who had not even gone through the initial training. So after the training was cascaded to them, they also reached out to other universities, which was very, very encouraging for us because we could see the enthusiasm of this. Again, the universities also identified areas in which they could infuse, also came up with out-of-class activities. For example, Kenyatta University came up with a very strong peace education club that actually minimized some of the violence that happened, that usually happens in the university as they are doing their elections. Then we also did, we went ahead and did monitoring and evaluation when we visited all the institutions where we had trained teachers. Moreover than that, I mean, beyond that, we went ahead and held a policy dialogue. We had a one-day policy dialogue with all the stakeholders, and we brought together the teachers from the institutions that we had trained, and they shared good practices for uptake at the policy and curriculum level. And the good thing is that when we were doing this, the IGAD officials also attended this, and they said that they had taken interest in it. And in fact, when we told them that it had happened in quite a number of the IGAD countries, they were really excited about it and were trying to see linkages on how they could also link into some of these institutional or education institutional initiatives towards peace building. Next. Okay, in terms of sustainability, because remember this was a project that had a time frame, again, we leveraged on what was happening in the country. During the curriculum reforms, peace education was now given a lot of attention and specifically integrated into the curriculum to the extent that we can be able to track where peace education is, because we have mainstreaming matrices, and we can actually be able to target for assessment, for evaluation. Then we also developed ESD and GCD implementation guidelines for basic education, TVET and universities, and also held annual trainings to actually cascade some of, to ensure that the guidelines were implemented, then continuous training of teacher educators. I think the next one is my last slide.
Okay.
I think
Good.
The other thing I wanted to say in my next slide is that we also use transformative pedagogy to address issues of safety and protection for learners who are vulnerable, and especially during the COVID-19 after the schools reopened. So you can see these children, we actually customized the manual into a dialogue book, and the children dialogued to actually promote safety and protection in the informal settlement. And I think I want to stop there. Just to say, of course, some of the challenges that we have had is that, still the capacity of teachers is still not very high, and we still need to continue training our teachers so that they can embody transformative pedagogy. We need to have linkages and initiatives with existing initiatives that are happening to continue doing that. I said we need to strengthen teacher education. And we still see quite a bit of weakness, weak link between teacher education and what is happening with the institutions around them. And we would want to enhance this. So thank you very much. And over to you, Salim.
Thank you so very much, Mary, for the intervention, sharing us the very great experience from Kenya. And you have started with the background, of course, talking about activities that were there before and which help you really reach those achievements. You have mentioned the outcomes we have reached, but also the activities. The activities are very important. Talking about TOT, the cascading at national level, institutional level. You even reach out to universities, which are very important because the majority of adolescents are found at universities. So I encourage you really to proceed. But also the monitoring and evaluation in the policy dialogue, putting together the education community and bringing forward some discussion so that everybody buys in the idea. This is very important, but also some activities which ensure sustainability of the pedagogy, of the transformative pedagogy. One of the activities is integrating the pedagogy into the curriculum, but also reaching out to vulnerable people, because this is one of the main objectives of the transformative pedagogy. Thank you very much. I hope that participants have taken good note of your presentation, and they will provide comment and questions, and you will be invited to react to the comments and questions. So thank you very much again, Mary. Now we are going to the third panelist. The third panelist comes from Lesotho. His name is Mr. Marco Matsela. He's the program coordinator for education at Lesotho National Commission for UNESCO. So Mr. Marco, you have 8 minutes to share us experience from Lesotho. But first of all, if you'd like, you can introduce yourself briefly. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Selu, for giving me this opportunity. I must say that we are the latest discovery by IGBA. We were only discovered last year. Maybe if you can move the slide. Exactly, thank you. We were only discovered last year by IGBA. So for this presentation, I was just given 8 minutes to present. So I'll just go through the background, then go straight into the experiences, and then talk a little bit about issues of networking, as well as the areas that needs to be strengthened in as far as peace education is concerned. So in terms of background, next slide, please. Like I said, we were discovered last year in July by IGBA through the UNESCO field office here in Lesotho. And then immediately after that, that is 2 months down the line, we were invited for the Transformative Pedagogy for Peace Building, Resilience and Prevention of Violence webinar, where 9 officers were trained, whom 3 were coming from the National University of Lesotho, and then the other 3 from the Lesotho College of Education, and then 2 from Mowent, and then me from the Lesotho National Commission for UNESCO. And we received training after we received certificates after the training. So in October last year, that is 1 month after the training, we received a call from IGBA requesting us to write a proposal, which was aimed to train teachers in order to advance transformative peace education initiative, which will eventually be integrated in schools curriculum through policy dialogues and stakeholder engagement. And in December, the actual workshop then took place, whereby 20 teachers were trained on the same initiative. Next slide, please. So we basically had a 5-day workshop where 20 participants were trained. This workshop participants were coming from the National University of Lesotho, Lesotho College of Education, some high schools, and then some primary schools, as well as curriculum developers and inspectors from the Ministry of Education and Training. So this is a list of objectives that were articulated or were addressed throughout the workshop. I'm not going to go through all these objectives in view of time. So these objectives were spread across all the 16 sessions that we had over the 5 days. And they were selected and assigned for each theme based on their relevance. So the approach that was used during the workshop or throughout the workshop was basically through the presentations or lecture methods, as well as group discussions where participants were given tasks and then later on were asked to present on them. Next slide, please. So by way of kickstarting the workshop, questions were set out in order to assess the understanding of the participants. And these questions were basically contextualized to see or to assess their knowledge about the peace building initiatives that are there in Lesotho, as well as issues that are happening or that affect peace or peace building here in Lesotho. And those responses that I have just selected, we're actually trying to address those. Next slide, please. And also some of the questions around the assessment were just to indicate whether there is peace in Lesotho, and then participants came up with the answers in trying to show where they think there are indicators in as far as peace is concerned in Lesotho, as well as the threats. They were asked to see to identify the threats that are there which might threaten peace that is reigning here in Lesotho. Next slide, please. So we went on now to talk about the role that education plays in as far as peace building is concerned. Because as you know, education is basically the backbone for everything, and it is used to transmit all the messages. So these are the responses that they were given in relation to how education play a role in peace building, as well as what are the limitations of education in peace building. And remember, these questions were basically contextualized, so their answers were actually around what they see here in Lesotho and not anywhere else. Next slide, please. Again, they were asked to tell or to identify the approaches the approaches of education for peace building that can be applied in their own context, as well as the role that teachers or teacher educators play in as far as peace building is concerned. Next slide, please. Now, in terms of the lessons learned, we discovered that peace building itself needs collaborative efforts. And not only that, political will as well as massive funding. Also, we realized that the ladder that is part of the content in the guide that we mainly used during the workshop can also be used within our institutions to minimize conflict. And we also discovered that throughout the workshop, emphasis was made that all topics should be geared towards peace building and any other thing, not any other thing. Next slide, please. Then in terms of opportunities, we discovered that the peace building workshop was an eye-opener to all educators, inspectors, curriculum developers, and teachers that took part in the training. And it also revitalized some consciousness on the significance of the indigenous resources for peace building initiatives. And facilitators as well as participants had an opportunity to now reflect on the uses of peace building and pedagogy on the daily lives. And also, we realized that the workshop itself brought together some key stakeholders in order to ensure partnerships and networking for feasibility, advocacy, as well as sustainability. Next slide, please. Now, in terms of networking, we had an opportunity to invite some of the stakeholders that we know have been working for so long in as far as peace building is concerned. And one of those is the Lesotho Defense Force with their special operation unit to come and present on their activities that they do that are aimed at ensuring that peace education and peace building are done harmoniously in Lesotho. And during their presentation, they identified or talked about issues like annual boot camps that are held for adolescents, that is boys and girls, in order to curb issues like gangsterism, drug abuse, alcohol, and so on. And also they talked about issues of peacekeeping missions that they are engaged on, as well as some rapid response services that they offer where they are needed, as well as some community services in terms of sports, cleaning campaigns, and so on. And issues, social issues like theft, livestock theft, health services, and so on. Next slide, please. And the second invitees during this workshop was the development for peace education. I hope most of you.
Can you wrap up in 2 minutes, please?
Yes, please, I'm doing that.
Thank you.
The second invitee was the DPE, that is the Development for Peace Education. And they also mentioned or explained how they go about in terms of peace education. And then for more information, if you want to read more about DPE, that is the website down there towards the end of the slide. And then after the workshop, we had an opportunity now to be invited to a forum or a seminar by now what is called Moshoshowan Institute for Peace and Leadership. This is one of the establishments of the National University of Lesotho, where which is aimed at promoting peace education through a number of issues like youth dialogues, collaboration with the national reforms authorities, through dialogues, as well as trainings on peace education for teachers, learners, and communities. Next slide, please. Next slide. And also we had an opportunity, no, go back a little bit. A little bit. Next slide before this one. Before that one. Yes. Yes, this one. I hope we all know this network or an organization. It is based in South Africa, Heavily Culture, World Peace Restoration of Lives. It is an international governmental organization registered in South Africa, whose mandate is to advance peace education. So we were invited a few weeks ago where they were launching what is called the Lesotho Peace Messengers Network in collaboration with the DPE that I've just talked about. So you can see in terms of visibility, we are now doing well because of the initiative that we had through the workshop. Next slide, please. So at the National University of Lesotho as well, they are currently developing a transformative pedagogy for life skills education course, whereby they are going to integrate issues of peace education. Next slide, please. Now, these are the areas that I think need to be strengthened in as far as peace education is concerned. I think we still need to engage policymakers to ensure that peace education has got its own policies from the government institutions down to the teacher training institutions, as well as including the concepts of peace education in the school's curriculum. Also, we need robust networking for visibility as well as advocacy and sustainability. Also, there has to be a reliable and sustainability funding models that will sustain our peace building initiatives. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Marco Matsela, for this wonderful presentation. I'm just repeating what I've seen from the chat. Actually, you said that you are the latest, but if you had not mentioned the date, the year when you joined, this project, people would not have assumed that you joined just last week, because the achievements are really great. Thank you for sharing us information related to the background, the experience, the networking areas, and also the lessons learned. I really appreciate the networking approach you have mentioned by involving the defense in the security and defense sector, which is really a key stakeholder in the fight against violence. So thank you very much. I hope participants will take good note and will comment and ask you some questions. Thank you very much again for this wonderful presentation. Now, I am going to give the floor to the last panelist. She is Mr. Sufi Hiriho Shipot from National Commission for Malawi. So, Mr. Sufi, you have the floor. 8 minutes, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for giving us the floor to make a presentation. An apology from the director of teacher education who was supposed to make the presentation. So I'll be reading through his presentation that was prepared. So I hope I will be within the 8 minutes that have been given. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, we can hear you very well.
All right, thank you very much. Next slide. Yeah, as an overview of peace education in Malawi, basically, we are looking at it from different forms where we are briefing the head teachers, teacher trainers by the National Commission for UNESCO and also the relevant departments and ministries. We are talking of, we have a Ministry of National Unity, which promotes peace in Malawi. There are also some guiding frameworks, policies that the ministry follow. We are looking at cascading the training to include all students of schools that participate in peace education, drawing from the background that they are, from the trainings that we have had so far. There are also some schools that are taking some activities to promote peace in their communities. Students trained in assertiveness and peace conflict resolution, establishment of peace clubs, engaged in self-help projects, allowing students to initiate projects and work cooperatively to address diverse needs, and also conducting workshops for teachers and developing training manuals in ethics lessons. Examples of some peace and the ESD activities in schools. Basically, we are looking at students forming peace clubs and discussing issues that trigger conflicts and how the same could be avoided. Drawing from the background that we have had some trainings for teachers with the support from IKIBA in implementing the transformative pedagogy in peace, resilience building, and prevention of violent extremism, where secondary schools were involved, and also teacher instructors or tutors from the teacher training institutions were also trained. So from those trainings, when they go back to their respective institutions, they have formed their peace clubs, which are implementing some of the peace building activities. Students, teachers from various teacher training colleges trained on how to engage, to be change agents in schools towards enhancing peace. Drawing from the just the recent activity which we did with the youth in peace building, where we had student teachers from various teacher training institutions. So they were trained, capacitated to promote peace. And also equipping primary and secondary school teachers in beekeeping. Knowing that we are talking of from SDG number 4, target number 7, which we are talking of global citizenship education, peace building, the respect for the culture of peace, and also ESD. So adopting the whole target without missing any concept, where we also have to look at ESD, where we are talking of beekeeping as an element which can support the youth to also promote peace. As you know, one of the factors, the poverty can be one of the factors to cause peace in the society. So once they are trained in this beekeeping and horticulture, so they'll be generating some money and sustaining some of their activities and lives to promote as well peace. Next slide. Peace building in Malawi, basically we are looking at stakeholders. We are also briefed on transformative pedagogy, peace building, and the resilience. We have had the National Minister of National Unity, which is mandated to promote peace in Malawi as a separate, as a ministry. So that shows the will of the government to promote peace in the country. So we have engaged them in various activities. The recent activity on youth engagement in peace, we had the ministry, which was the guest of honor, and we also shared some concepts which they are doing as a ministry to promote peace. The same with the Department of Teacher Education and Development is also taking a leading role to make sure that the teacher training institutions and the teacher training colleges and universities, they are also doing some activities on peace education. So I think I have a colleague here, Mr. Tununu Mafuleka. Maybe at some point he'll be sharing his views on what the Department of Teacher Education is doing in that perspective. And also students and teachers sensitized not to use language, hate speech in bracket, or do actions that can affect students. So I think this was through the Science in the Guns project, which was supported by UNESCO Ikiba. Next slide. Yeah, from that picture, you can see we have the woman with, dressed in blue. That was one of the participants in the training which was conducted under Science in the Guns. She also participated in the online training which was organized in September by UNESCO Ikiba. She's a teacher at one of the schools which was identified. So after being capacitated in peace education, she went out to her school to teach the same, to impart the skills to other teachers within her institution. From there, she's from Likuni Girls, and she also did the same. Another phase, she went to St. John Secondary School to also to impart the same skill. So she moved from her school to another school to share the skills with others. That is one of the activities that has been done among several activities. There you are looking at the youths that have been engaged in farming so that they can at least generate some funds from what they got from the farming. They bought some school materials which they donated to another school. So that is more like also creating the self-learning environment, which is also one of the concepts under the transformative pedagogy. The next slide. From the implementation of all these activities, what lessons have we learned? Basically, we are looking at peace education has to go beyond the classroom knowledge and target root causes of conflict, such as resource deprivation or poverty. Yeah, we know that in most cases, the curriculum does not have most of components to do with peace education. In other words, some are scattered, they are found in different subjects, but they are not found in one place. So the teachers, they have to know that peace education has to go beyond the classroom knowledge. They have to take extra activities outside the classroom to promote this peace building. It is possible for schools to initiate self-help income generating activities to fight poverty and lead to self-reliance. So that is one way of addressing the root cause of conflict, specifically poverty. So once they are capacitated in self-help income generating activities, they'll be able to fight poverty and also promote peace. Peace through community dialogue meetings can help reduce or eliminate conflict, and schools can mediate them. So we know in some cases where there have been some communication breakdown between the schools and the communities. So conflict in those cases have to be handled through community dialogue meetings. So an agreement has to be made between the various groups. More strengthened civic education and community engagement processes are needed to enhance peace building at a grassroots level. The element of peace, civic education, is coming in strongly in our context to add on to what the curriculum is providing. So like I mentioned that we have the Ministry of National Unity, which has a department on civic education, which is going out into the communities to promote the element of peace, where conflicts are there. We have had some cases where persons with the disabilities, specifically people with the albinism, they have been hunted, others killed. So in a scenario where we want to prevent that, we are going to that civic education should come in to engage the communities in order to promote peace building. Involvement of teachers and teacher training colleges is key in entrenching a culture of peace educations amongst both teachers and the learners. So I think on this one, the Department of Teacher Education and the Development is also coming in to develop a concept where civic education or civic clubs have to be introduced in the various schools so that the students and the learners, they have to be involved and gain the skills to promote peace. In the same scenario, we have the Ministry of National Unity, which is working closely with this Department of Teacher Education, and also the Malawi Institute of Education, which handles the issues, the curriculum, so that they can develop civic education into the formal system. So I think there are still some negotiations to have that in place. So soon we'll be having those subject as a civic education as a subject, which should be a core subject. Like I mentioned, that we have components of peace education in different subjects which are scattered. So assuming a student is taking other subjects and leaving, for example, one is looking at the sciences, which is somehow they don't have much of the peace education component. But when you look at life skills as a subject, you have some components of peace education. So for one who is taking science, basically he's missing the life skills part. So when the civics as a subject is introduced and is made a core subject, it means each and every learner will have to take that subject and learn the component of civic education, peace education, so to say. So in that way,
Mr. Chifiniro?
Yes, sir.
Chifiniro, can you please wrap up in the next 2 minutes?
Okay, let me just mention about the challenges in the next slide.
Yes, please, yes.
Yeah, where we cite COVID-19, which has reduced the contact time between the teachers and students in order, hence limiting peace education opportunities, inadequate documentation and reporting, and also information sharing skills is missing. It has been missing in some of these components. Limited capacity to coordinate, document, and report at all levels, national, district, and zonal level on peace education activities. And the last bullet, we are talking of lack of technical support in agriculture business projects can help enhance self. Lastly, on the next slide, we are looking at upcoming plans and ideas for the next 3 or 4 years, where we are looking at continuing capacity building for teachers and the teacher educators to champion peace education, which will also lead to developing the capacities of the teachers to initiate, plan, and execute, and also report on various activities. And also lobby for resources that can help to develop and print peace educational materials targeting learners in schools and also out of school youth. We should not only focus on the formal, we should also focus on the non-formal education. So we have to have these peace education materials. And also establish national, district, and zonal level offices to coordinate and monitor and also report on peace education and civic education issues and activities. And lastly, we are looking at establish a database and information sharing platform for showcasing success stories and best practices to do with peace education. Yeah, that is my last presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chifiniro Chikoti from Malawi. It was the last presentation, but not the least, because it was really very informative, talking about the overview of peace education, examples of peace, lessons learned, which is the core of the presentation. And in the lessons learned, you talked about activities that should be conducted beyond the classrooms, which is very important. Engaging community dialogue, and through that community dialogue, engaging communities, involving teachers and teacher training colleges. I think those are very important activities or factors to grant success to the project. You have also shared challenges and the way forward over 4 years, the coming 4 years. I think this is very, very interesting, and we're looking forward to the implementation of that way. So thank you very much, dear participants. These were the presentations. I think you have taken good note. There are many comments, many questions. I'm now handing over the floor to my colleague, Jerusalem, who is monitoring the chat with Kasumi and Jose for the comments and questions that they would like to convey to our panelists. Jerusalem, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Salu. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, presenters. And honestly, I was taken by the presentation, and I cannot say that I managed the chat very well, to be honest. But as we are working on the team, I will do the first chat that I have on my hand, and then I will leave the floor for Suchit and Kasumi. But I have questions also from on the chat on the first presentation. So I don't know how we wanted to go about it, but I will forward the questions that I have for Nora and Suchit and Kasumi. If you have those questions only for Nora, you will forward it to her, and then we follow as per the presentation sequences if we have individual questions. But for the general questions, we can forward it together. And Nora, you have questions and also appreciations, of course, from the chat. And one of the questions that we have is at what level peace education is incorporated in Nigerian curriculum, and what also motivated the Ministry of Education to introduce the transformative pedagogy. And the third question is, you were talking about the teaching plans and the syllabus on how you harmonize between the two. And can you tell us more about the teaching plan and what other ingredients do you have other than active teaching from the transformative pedagogy approach? And maybe here you can you have a time to brief us about the guide that you were contextualizing, because you had also sort of time on the guide and you didn't say much about it. So maybe it's an opportunity for you to brief us about the guide. And the final question that I have for you is how problematic topics have been handled using the transformative pedagogy, and if you have any experience on that. And Suchit, over to you. Suchit, over to you if you have any question for Nora. Or
no, I
or
think
not.
we can go ahead and pose those questions to Nora and then move to maybe the next, because that were quite a few questions.
Okay, okay, okay.
Okay, hopefully I will remember all the questions, but I think I've taken note of the two last ones. So concerning the teaching plans, well, the teaching plans are, of course, the approach adopted here, adopted in Algeria is the CBA, competency-based approach. And the approach that is suggested by transformative pedagogy in the learning process, if you have the guide to see the learning process suggested, there are some steps. It is a kind of cycle that that makes of the learner a social actor. Actually, when at the end of the process of learning, the learner doesn't acquire only knowledge, but he becomes a social actor and performs an action, actually. And this is why we adopted this this learning process, especially in civic education subject, as we found out that learners can get very high scores in civic education, but still their behavior is not the one that is targeted. So we are targeting transformation in behavior, and instead of just acquiring knowledge, we want our learners to acquire a behavior, attitude, a peaceful one, and a positive behavior. So this is why we adopted the learning process, because through the cycle, the learner will be aware that it is not about acquiring knowledge. It is about, so actually, if you have the learning process, it starts with motivation, then the learner explores and have dialogue with, have a kind of dialogue, and then goes to reflection and acquires then and gets finishes with an action. So this is the added value of implementing the transformative pedagogy in this subject, and this is why we have selected this subject to implement transformative pedagogy, because they are the most relevant ones for the implementation, and because they are also the subjects in which we can find topics to inject this transformative pedagogy. This is for the question about teaching plans and how problematic is the implementation. Actually, we had a very good preparation, and we are still preparing the implementation to teachers with a core team of teacher educators. So we are trying to face all the challenges and try to facilitate and make it something that, and we are, as I said before in my presentation, we experience each time we produce something. Actually, we experiment it with in some classes just to have feedback if it works or it doesn't. Then if it doesn't work, there is something, any issue about it, then we regulate, we adjust, and we produce our we adapt correctly the content of the guide. So till now, the most the challenges we will have to face, maybe it is in the continuity of the project, because we will need I don't know more resources. Hopefully we will be afforded these resources to carry on the steps that I mentioned in the way forward. Otherwise, till now, everything goes well. It is we have worked slowly and deeply, and went into the curriculum and selected the topics, the subjects, and we had a kind of a way of crossing, making a common field that we can find to implement. So I think it is on the implementation of transformative pedagogy has found really a very stable position in our in the implementation of our curriculum. These are the two major questions I have taken note. I don't know if you can remind me of any other question, Irisalem. I will respond to the question.
Yeah, thank you, Mary. Thank you, Nora. I hope you have addressed the questions, but you can also, go through the chat and try to respond for some individual concerns for the sake of time.
Yes.
But yeah, only if you want to address the problematic topics. Otherwise, I think it's addressed well.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
I've responded to some of the questions directly to the ones who asked me the questions. But if there is any other question, I'll be ready to answer. Thank you, Irisalem.
Okay. Thank you, Nora. And for the sake of time, I think it's good to give chance for others. And Kasumi, do you have any question? And you can maybe, if you find the common questions, you can summarize it and ask any of the presenters. Otherwise, you go for Ethiopia and then we go for Kenya, so that we give chance for all presenters to speak.
Okay, thank you.
Three questions, yes.
Yes, do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so there is a question about peace clubs. What are peace clubs and how do they work? How are they organized? And I remember some of the panelists mentioned about peace clubs. So shall we hear from them? Probably starting from Mr. Wagelu from Ethiopia.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Kasumi. And I have also other questions. I think the peace club can be also addressed by Ethiopia, Wagayo.
Okay,
And
yeah. I can answer. I can respond the questions for them.
Okay.
Hello.
Okay. Please proceed.
Yeah, regarding the peace clubs, they are working. They advocate for the prevalence of peace within the school communities. They discuss about peace issues, and they also provide peace building activities in the communities, not only in the school communities, outside the communities also they engage in different activities, and they learn also from indigenous conflict resolution mechanism from the communities. So there are some schools that are engaged working along with community. They not only they disseminate peace values, they also learn from the community. How do they handle conflicts within the community? How do they solve their differences through dialogue and discussion? So they disseminate through organizing different forums. So there are peace clubs. Of course, all are not working. Most of them are working within the school communities. They disseminate peace values. They advocate about peace for the school communities through organizing different activities and through dramas. They perform dramas and they disseminate peace values for students in the school communities. So did I get the answer? Did I get your question? What I didn't tell you regarding Ethiopia is these days we have also conflict in the northern part of Ethiopia, and so many students are also out of the school. So we have to work a lot on the psychological support and peace building activities in the northern part of Ethiopia, particularly in the Afar and the Amara regional states. So we are in problem. So we have to work a lot. We have to establish many peace clubs. We have to provide peace building trainings for club representatives, for mini medias, and not only the peace clubs, the mini medias. The mini medias at secondary schools are also disseminating peace values through their through the mini media. As I said, we have focal persons. We have focal persons, for example, in education office at Harar. They regularly provide for mini media clubs or mini media clubs, and they disseminate peace values in that way. But still, we need to provide and we need to work on it. Peace for the prevalence of peace and peaceful coexistence in Ethiopia. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wagayo. And we have also questions. And for the Peace Club, maybe I will ask all the three other presenters to talk about it. But in relation to that, also we have questions for Mary. And by the way, colleagues and participants, you will find the training guides on our website, and the link is on the chat. And for those who are also interested on the training for yourself, and even for those educators and teachers who want to share it with colleagues and students, There is an online platform, a virtual campus on the peace education training. So you can take the training both in English and French. It's available. And once you complete the certificate, once you complete the training, you can get a certificate. And on our website, you can also get some information about the peace education. And this is the first lesson learned webinar, and we have different webinars also coming on for the next within 2 weeks time, and we will inform you, and we will also share all the presentations and today's recording when we invite you for the second webinar, which will focus on the higher education or the university's experience, and then the user experience on the third webinar, as Salo indicated us during the start of the meeting. And now, Mary, there is a question from Professor Joshua, and he really appreciates the initiative from Kenya, and he is also from Kenya. But he wants to know how much the universities are engaged. Maybe you can brief him how the universities in Kenya are engaged. And this is also, by the way, Professor Joshua, the session that we're going to have on our second lesson learned webinar. And secondly, he's asking if it's possible to introduce peace education units in the teacher training institutions to ensure teacher trainees are adequately prepared to handle learners. And this is a question for Mary, but I think all of you can also jump in and respond the possibility of integrating peace education in the teacher training institutions.
Maybe I
also
add on a question, Jerusalem. There's a question asking about, in the Kenyan context, the emphasis on the competency-based curriculum is there.
Yes,
so how does the transformative pedagogy complement this process? How do you see this? There's a question around this, Mary, as well.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the, I can respond to the questions. I think the first one is how we are looking at, integrating peace education into the universities. And like I said, when I was making my presentation, we need to look at looking at the larger picture and what is happening within the sectors. And one of the things that is there is that the universities are expected to integrate education for sustainable development and global citizenship education. And I think that provides for us a very, a broader avenue for us to mainstream these aspects into the units, and even coming up with the, what I think someone has asked, whether we can have a peace education unit. That's a discussion that has been going on for a while. But one thing that has been done is that the guidelines for ESD and GCD for universities have really been embraced by the vice chancellors, by the heads of school of education, the deans, and they are very keen to have it implemented. So we see that as a very strong avenue for integrating it. The peace clubs also is another strong avenue of integrating peace education into the universities, and we've seen some of the universities uptake that and really come up with very strong peace clubs in the universities. As far as whether this should be a unit on its own, that's a very, it's a policy issue. I know it's being discussed by the universities. For the teacher training, because those ones lie in basic education, that decision has already been taken, and peace education is going to be integrated. It's not a standalone subject, and therefore is integrated. But the good thing is we had the mainstreaming matrices, and therefore this was deliberately done, unlike in the past where we didn't have a very clear framework for this integration. And I want to stop there for matters integration and the universities. I want to talk about the emphasis, the Cbc and transformative pedagogy. Remember that this project was initiated in Kenya when we were just conceptualizing Cbc. But what you see is, in fact, if you read the Cbc framework, one of the things that has been highlighted is transformative pedagogies. And therefore, going forward, what we have done, the transformative pedagogies, this program actually fitted well into Cbc because the transformative pedagogies have actually been embraced in Cbc. And therefore, this becomes, and remember the transformative pedagogies can be used to facilitate many themes. So peace education is just one of the thematic areas, but it can be able to promote learning in very many other areas. And therefore, for us, a very, what can I say, fertile ground for us to take forward. So I think I want to stop there. I think those are the questions that I had. I think the issue of peace clubs has been very well tackled by my colleague from Ethiopia. Over to you.
Thank you.
Jerusalem.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mary. And now I am becoming somehow conscious about time because some people are leaving while. So maybe Suchit or Kasumi, if there is no specific question, especially for Lesotho and Malawi, I would like to forward only one question for the presenters themselves, and we proceed for the next session then. And maybe Nora, Mary, Mr. Mako, Wagayo, and Shifurino, I just wanted to hear also what your reflection or what your takeaways are from this project or program, transformative pedagogy, because I can say that this person, you were really committed throughout the process and you were engaged and you have seen and you told us about the successes at the country level. But if you have some reflections or personal reflections, very briefly, maybe within a minute, 1 minute, that if you would like to reflect. Yes, okay, Nora, please go ahead.
This is just to tell you about the takeaway of this webinar. Actually, this has really enriched my insight about implementing transformative pedagogy. And I've learned a lot from the experience of the other countries, especially now I have an idea, a very inspiring initiative from Kenya that I will certainly try to inform the core team in Nigeria about involving learners in like peace clubs and also producing posters or any product in their schools. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Laura. And maybe just to refine the question for the rest of the presenters, what do you think you can say personally value about this transformative pedagogy approach while you are implementing this project? Mary, over to you.
I think for me, what I would want to say about this project and what was the value added for us is to realize that there's still another step that we need to take. And as far as teacher training is concerned, it's not just about I think I want to call them the traditional methodologies that we had, but there is a call for a very one-on-one relationship between the teacher and the learner. I usually allow me to give an example that when I started learning about these methodologies, I realized that, when I was a teacher, I would get expectant for 9 months, but this expectancy was never discussed between me and the learners. And that shows how far removed sometimes as teachers we can be from our learners. But I think our learners are yearning for a genuine relationship with us, because what I'm going through has an impact. They know that as I go through my pregnancy, I'll be away for some time from their classrooms. They have their anxieties about what I'm going through as a person. So this one-on-one relationship between teachers and learners is what we need to have. And that way, we can be able to foster our values, attitudes, and mentor each other to be stronger human beings, to foster a peaceful society. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. And Mr. Mako, can I give the floor for you very briefly?
Thank you. By way of wrapping it up, I think this initiative is very important to us. Although we have just joined it at a later stage, but I think in our case, it will still do good to us because it has become an eye-opener in many ways, because there are so many things that we discovered that we were not aware of. And maybe to just make you aware of what we are intending to do afterwards. Next month, we are planning to meet the most senior management of the Ministry of Education, because basically they are the ones who are the custodians of all the educational policies. So we are planning to meet them and then present this initiative to them formally now, so that we start negotiations and processes towards policy development, where we are going to ensure that issues of peace education are captured very well in the policies. And also we are planning to meet another teacher institutions, not teacher institutions, but the Lesotho College of Education, which trains teachers, that they should also come on board in as far as the policy development is concerned on peace education, because, okay, so that afterwards, concepts or issues of policy of peace education can be included or integrated in the curriculum throughout the levels that they are offering there.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Mako. And Mr. Shufurino, if you would like to say one personal takeaway.
All right, thank you very much. Yeah, on my part, this initiative has been an eye-opener, where I'm looking at it from the angle where it is trying to bring a teacher and the learners, the school and the community close together. In the same way, it is also trying to look at it. I'm looking at it from the hidden curriculum component, where what the project is imparting in the youths, in the teachers, is something which the curriculum is not directly addressing. So this initiative is trying to bring in that hidden curriculum, in a sense that the teachers or the people should go out there to reach to others in a scenario where they have to consider themselves as peace builders, peacemakers, adopting the concept of do as I do, not as I say. So in that scenario, the hidden curriculum is coming in strongly, which is also the component which most of the times is missed when you look at the schools, teachers, and the learners. So this initiative is trying to bring all these components that make up the society close together and create this peace. Yeah, that's what I can share. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And Wagayo, I can give you 1 minute, and you can be brief on Hello, Wagayo? Yeah, I think his mic has a problem again. And okay, while we're waiting, hello. Yes,
you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
We can hear you. Yes.
Now we have incorporated the peace building and peace building values in the curriculum, beginning from grade 1 up to grade 10.
Yeah, I think his mic has a problem. And Wagayo, maybe you can text on the chat so that we can have it there. For the sake of time, you. And thank you very much to all of you. And I just wanted to summarize very briefly about the key points that we had from this learning sessions. And of course, it's a learning session, and countries are at different stage. And there are, as it's said, some have started last year and some stayed with us for the last 3 years.
Yerus, get closer to your mic, please.
Okay, but it's really interesting to see how things flow in each country, and I would like to maybe to recap some of the very important issues at the lesson learned. The first one is the relevance of the transformative pedagogy itself. Of course, it indeed as an approach that empowers both teachers and learners, and this is really shown from the experience from Malawi on how they discuss conflictual topics using the approach, and also how even they engage the young people as a learner-led action, and how they engage even those students for resource mobilization. And it also shows us how peace education is transformative and it can go beyond the classroom, as it's presented by Lesotho and Ethiopia also, and also the aspect of its being context responsiveness when we see the experience from the Kenya informal settlements. And also the second key important point is the integration of this peace education at the national level, be it at the curriculum, at the teacher training program. And countries have their own color on how they took it and how they even take the training itself. Some took blocked training, some took some of the topics at the training time by time, and some use their own existing syllabuses. And it's really encouraging, and especially for the new countries who are joining, and also for those countries who have been thinking about peace education program. And even for partners who are with us today and listening, it's very important to see how peace education can be mainstreamed, or this transformative pedagogy can be applied with the existing initiatives as seen from Kenya. And congratulations, Kenya, also that they are also integrating it with the competency-based curriculum at the teacher training program. But they started it with whatever they had on hand as an existing strategy 4 or 3 years ago, and also using the teacher training colleges as an entry point, and continuous support and training for teachers is very important, and engaging learners outside of the classroom, the community services, the peace clubs, and the community dialogue. And also a very good lesson that we have from Lesotho is engaging partners from the beginning. And by the way, we have also lots of partners on this platform, also on this webinar. I just wanted to mention at least one who also sent us a greetings. It was Muse Hailu. I don't know whether he's with us now also. He's a regional director of URI Africa and representative to the AU and UN. And he said, greetings of peace and blessings on behalf of members of the United Religious Initiatives. I want to thank you for organizing the important meeting and want to inform you that UR is working in addressing PV and promoting culture of peace in interfaith harmony. Therefore, UIL Africa fully supports this initiative and looking forward to work with you all on these issues. And we thank you, and we also encourage partners to introduce themselves and say a few words on using the chat. And thank you very much for all of you for attending this meeting. But before we close this webinar, we have an important session, and I hand over for Salu. Hello, Salu. Hello? Hello? Okay, maybe his internet is slow. So I give maybe the floor directly to our guest for the closing remark. He is Dr. Tedros Shawaregat from the Ministry of Education, Ethiopia, General Directorate for Curriculum and Civic Education. Dr. Tedros, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Let me briefly explain the Ethiopian curriculum education regarding to the peace education. We are under reform of the curriculum reform. Now we incorporated the peace education. We're classifying the moral education from grade 1 to 6 and citizenship education from grade 7 to upper orders. That is included in our new curriculum. Now we are developing textbooks and teachers' guide for this new curriculum reform. I think Wagayo explained that. Finally, thank you very much. I'm very happy to have this opportunity to express my pointers. Great thing to Dr. Yomikyo, Director for UNESCO ICPA, country delegates and focal points, contactors, UNESCO ICPA and UNESCO colleagues. It is a privilege to be part of this webinar. You know that Africa is the world's youngest continent. It is not debatable that investing in education for youth and child is crucial to a peaceful, sustainable, hopeful, and happy future for many nations. Peace building is the original goal of the United Nations, future for many nations. Peace building is the original goal of the United Nations and a top priority for both UNESCO and African Union. UNESCO Sustainable Development Goal 4.6 clearly emphasize the role of peace and civics curricula in overall education development. The UN target by 2030 is to ensure all learners acquire the knowledge and the skill needed to promote sustainable development, including, among others, through education for sustainable development and sustainable lifestyle, human rights, gender equity, promotion of cultural and peace and non-violence, global citizenship and appreciation of cultural diversity, and of culture's contribution to sustainable development. Moreover, peace is a central focus of the Africa Union 2063 agenda. Numerous goals of the agenda explicitly states the need of preserve peace, security, and stability. That is goal 13, and achieve a sustainable and peaceful Africa, goal 14. Furthermore, the 2063 agenda encourages countries to create, engaged, and empower youth and children, goal 18. It is at this point, intersection of peace building and youth empowerment that our agenda lies for this meeting today. The call for education that builds the value of peace, resilience, conflict resolution, appreciation for diversity into the mind of and heart of youth needs to be stronger than ever before. As we emerge from COVID-19, this crisis is likely to intensify existing tension and differences at regional and country level. With this understanding, and for the last 5 years, UNESCO ICPA has exerted its effort to engage teachers who are key stakeholders on peace building, peace education. I believe this webinar is timely in terms of identifying the achievements, the lesson learned, and challenges from each country's viewpoints. This webinar will also help countries, including Ethiopia, to design context-responsive, evidence-based peace-building policy and strategy directions. The government of Ethiopia, in particular, the Ministry of Peace, as shared today in the webinar, promotes integration of diversity, social cohesion, and peace coexistence in the education curriculum with the focus, peace values, and competency among youth, both in education settings. I sincerely like to acknowledge the government of Japan for the support for the program and for showing interest in continuing this strong commitment to peace building. I believe that during this webinar, we will gain new knowledge, share value, experience, and good experience. This will help us plan our future intervention on peace building program, which will be instrumental in the transformation and development of peace in Africa. I thank you all.
Thank you very much, Dr. Theodoros Shawargit, Director General of Director Curriculum and Research at the Ministry of Education in Ethiopia. Thank you for doing us the honor of closing this webinar and for the blessing, and also for reiterating the commitment of the government of Ethiopia to support this project. We are really grateful. So, dear ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your attention. We have gone 20 minutes past the time, but we could not feel it because the interaction was very, very interesting. I will just close this webinar by a quotation from Thomas More, who was saying that one of the greatest problems of our time is that many are schooled, but few are educated. And I think transformative pedagogy is one of the key to that education, to that quality education. So thank you very much.
And
see you.
Salio. Can you repeat it again?
Sorry?
We didn't hear your.
Oh, Thomas Mose was saying.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Your voice was broken.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Can you repeat? Yes.
You can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Thomas was saying that one of the greatest problems of our time is that many. No?
Salu, maybe you can put it in a chat. You can write it on the chat, and meanwhile, yes. Meanwhile, we can open our camera and take a group picture. Javier, are you ready to take the group picture?
We did not hear the quotation. We did not hear the quotation. Salu.
Yes, the quotation. He will put it on the chat.
I will write it.
In the chat, but in the meantime, let us open our videos and group picture. Thank you very much. Yes. Are you ready, Javier?
I am. Give me just 1 second so everyone can turn on their cameras if they wish to do so.
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. And once again, we'll do this again. 3, 2, 1. And one final one. 3, 2, 1. Lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you to Dr.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you, presenters. Thank you. Bye. See you on the
very
next
much.
webinar. Okay. Bye.
Please share the picture with us, Irisalam.
Of course, I will. I will do that. Thank you. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye. It was a great webinar.
Thank you.
Okay, bye. Thank you. Thank you, Nora, Mary, Marco, Shipuriro, and Wagayo. Thank you very much. It was another